Hi there, it's me again. It's part two of me um, talking about the newspaper. In part one, I left off talking about the village president, which I guess would generally be the mayor, and her comment saying you can't help those who won't help themselves, and her comments about me believing I can live off grid here. And, I addressed those in the last video. Never thought I was going to live in this town off grid. Thought I'd be able to get some chickens, though. Makes no sense. You can't have chickens here. Crazy. But yeah, and her comments saying you can't help those who won't help themselves. Well, I was helping myself. And like I was saying towards the end of the video, that is another reason, I say that um my integrity would not allow me to take money from people or help from people. Um and a lot of that um is because I knew I could do it on my own. I had started to do it on my own. I had taken the money out to do it on my own. I made that big loan that I had even bigger, to get the several $1,000s out to pay for the dumpster and the contractor. I just needed to find a contractor who was willing to work within the parameters that I had available. And I hadn't found that contractor yet. But uh, as soon as you know, the local Officer Looney, stopped and dropped off those papers, and all of this started. All of my efforts to rehab the house stopped. Because it wasn't long after that they were threatening eviction, and it blows my mind. This is over some buckets. That's what this whole thing started. Yeah, it's the water bill, but the water bill is not that much. They wouldn't be losing that much money for one person not paying their water bill. And when you look at the fact that this house has been abandoned for 15 years, they've gone all those years without getting any money from it. So nothing would have changed. And so, if they would have left it alone, it would have been fine. And I totally get why they excuse me, um, why they, are freaked out about the buckets. The Not so much the buckets. Um, yeah, I realize they're kind of an eyesore to look at, but they're a temporary living situation. But they're freaked out about what's in the buckets, and I made a video addressing that. I have no idea if they've watched it, but I put it out there for them, and I would be happy to give them any information they want. But they have never attempted to get in touch with me. I haven't even heard from the village lawyer since before the first article ran, and this is now the fourth article, and this paper comes out once a week. So I haven't heard from the village lawyer in over 4 weeks. He never returned my call, um, so yeah. And then it has the little quote, that when I walk Rainbow, that I just feel regret moving here, which I addressed earlier, which is completely true. I do feel regret. Hindsight, if I knew this was the situation I was going to end up in, I would have never moved this town. I never would. um so, and then let's see, um the village lawyer, I guess at their last meeting, I just thought this was a little funny. I am known as the little problem at the north end of town. Isn't that cute? I'm the little problem at the north end of town. That's kind of cute. So, and then this I thought was hilarious. The the village lawyer. At least it makes it sound as if this is the village lawyer saying it. He commented that village employees would not go to my home um, without a police escort. Oh my gosh. People, board members, can you be any bigger drama queens. Seriously. I have made no threats to you. No threats in any way, shape, or form. Having a video where I criticize your ability to work together, to function as a board, and represent this community, and vent my frustrations over your dealings with all of this and your witch hunt, and the fact that you cost me my construction loan. I cannot get the loan to do the construction on the house now because of your efforts. Um, Me verbalizing and putting that on social media in no way represents a threat. It represents me expressing my views, and we as public citizens have the right to criticize our elected officials. That's just how government works. Um, so you saying now that you cannot come to my home without a police escort, grow up. I mean, come on, stop the drama. It's this has just gotten so out of hand. These people are ridiculous. So, and then, the rest of the article, it just has the so Mitchell, that's Ed Mitchell, the village lawyer, said the village has several options that range from simple charges or simple fines to misdemeanor charges that would involve court appearances. None of the village remedies involve jail time. However, he also said the village could ask the state to prosecute her, meaning me, under the state's nuisance laws. And then it said he agreed to meet with the police chief last Tuesday to make decisions on how to proceed. So that is the article. So yeah, that's it. Parts of it are funny. Parts of it, like the one individual who was helping me, her name appearing. I didn't like that. I would have never revealed her name. But hopefully she gave not Ed, that's the lawyer, John at the paper. Hopefully she gave him permission, because I would hate to think that her name is now out there in the community when she would not want it to be. But so of the 5 individuals, the 4, they're 2 sisters and their husbands. I never heard from them again after the one sent me that message. The message was, I will admit, it was a little insulting. It kind of read like someone chastising a disobedient child, but I didn't even reference that. I didn't respond in any way. I just sent her the link to the post that I made on Facebook where I apologized to them, that I could not give them what they want, but that I wasn't willing to compromise my integrity. The 5th gentleman, who is an attorney, he was the one who specifically asked not to be mentioned. He had been talking to the village lawyer, Ed, which is perhaps why I did not hear from Ed, because he was talking to this other gentleman. Even he agreed to still stand by me, even though I know he was not happy with my decisions not to remove the postings and not to issue an apology. He was still willing to stand by me. He is a very noble gentleman, and I think the world of him. And he was still willing to buy me a furnace and still willing to put money out and get it done. But just as he is a noble person, I'm a person of integrity, and I couldn't let him continue to help me. So I gave him an out. He had worked with the other 4 individuals. They worked together very well, and those individuals were gone, so he would now have no help, and he would be doing it all on his own because, you know, none of them had involved me in any of the process. I didn't even know what was going on. They had planned, one of them had 3 pages of stuff that they had already, planned on getting done. And, I just wasn't part of the process. So, I had told him at the time, and I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I told him I was going to be leaving Chadwick and leaving the area because I knew that would give him a way to bow out gracefully, and I felt he deserved that. He's a very he's a very kind man and very noble, and he did stand by me when everybody else left, and I admire that about him. And I just felt that he I just felt that I needed to give him an out. So I lied. It's true now, but at the time I lied and I said that I would be leaving Chadwick when in truth I didn't know what I was going to be doing. But I addressed in a video before that we all lie. We tell white lies. If somebody comes up to us and they're like, does this make my butt look big? You're like, no, you look great. You look amazing. You lie to them. You make them feel good. I told him what he needed to hear so he could withdraw his offer of help without feeling any regret. And that is exactly what he did. When I responded, copied him on the Facebook post that I had posted where, again, apologizing to them and yada yada. I sent him that and, sent him something thanking him. And then he withdrew his offer of help. And because he is a lawyer, it was very, very professionally written. But, yeah, so I gave him an out and he took it. But yeah, at the time I didn't know what I was doing. Now I am actively trying to look for properties. But I ran into another catch. I went to the bank and I did the application for the loan. I thought I was going to hear back on Friday. I know they ran the application because I have Credit Karma, so I know the inquiry went through, but I didn't hear back. I called today, but there's only 2 tellers on duty, so there's nobody who could tell me what's going on. And Monday's a holiday, so I'll have to wait till Tuesday to find out what is going on and if I qualify for a loan. But I had asked, I'm like, all right, well, we already know that you can't give me a construction loan on the house because of the threats of eviction with the city. I'm like, where does that leave me? Does that mean because I asked if I could take the equity out, what equity there is in the house for a down payment on something else. And she didn't think that was going to be possible because, again, the threats of eviction. She was going to have to run it by the bank lawyer. But if that's true, that means now that through the village's enterprising efforts over this entire thing, that not only have I lost playing with the thing, not only have I lost the ability to get a construction loan because of their threats of eviction, I've now lost the ability to even use the house as collateral to get, as they say, the hell out of Dodge, which is at this point what I want. So, and that brings up another question, because I had thought about selling this property, and that brings up, that was one of the things I considered. And like I said, I'm still weighing my options, which is why I haven't made any videos about this. But I have to wonder now, with the threats of eviction, am I even going to be able to sell it? Because it's almost become like a lien. Their threats of eviction have become like a lien, and so they won't follow me, they'll follow the property. And So that would make me think that I would have to disclose that to the realtor who would be working with me, and they would have to disclose that to any potential buyers that the city or the village has made threats um, regarding the property, that if things aren't done the way they want, or however it is, that they have the right to evict. So I don't know. I have to. I think I am going to be forced to hire an attorney. At this point, I haven't. I was hoping that the village was just back off, that they would come to their senses, that they would be like, oh my gosh, this is all over some buckets. Um, when I told Deb that, I guess we'll just have to have the lawyers work it out, I was hoping that when they brought the village lawyer in, that he would be like, what are you people thinking? That this is over some buckets? Come on, you people, grow up. He's a lawyer. He should be the voice of reason. He should be like, just, simmer down. It's buckets. It's a temporary situation, but that didn't happen. So I'm looking now at possibly having to talk to a real estate attorney and find out if the village has compromised my ability to sell the house. I already know they've compromised my ability to get a loan. I can't get a construction loan for the house because of their threats of eviction. I can't. I can get it, but the village would have to write a letter saying they never had any legal authority to threaten to evict me, which they're not going to do. And like I said, I don't even know if I can use the collateral in the house for a down payment on a house to get out of here. And then that would kind of solve my problems with the village, because if I'm not here living on the property anymore, then all the stuff with the water stops. It just goes back to being an abandoned house, just like it was when the last guy, Dick, owned it, who is a board member and the brother-in-law of the village president, the mayor, and the brother of the guy who runs the water department. So it was an abandoned property for 15 years before I bought it, so it would just go back to being an abandoned property. And he was allowed to get away with it for 15 years, so there is no reason why I couldn't just leave the property sit. It's in better shape than when he had it, so yeah. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to get a real estate attorney to find out where I stand, and then I'm not sure. I don't know what, if it would be a civil matter or what it is. I was trying to do research. I really don't like doing research, but like libel laws, when people talk smack about you, like when celebrities sue tabloids for stuff. The tabloids aren't like apologizing for saying wrong information. It has to do with compromising their ability, their financial situation. So anything negative that's said that compromises your ability to make money or affects your finances, I believe is what is qualifies under libel laws. I have to do more research. I am not a lawyer. But at this point, the village has clearly affected my financial situation. I can't get a loan, can't get a construction loan to fix the house. So there's one. I can't I still need to talk to Deb at not Deb at the village, but the lady at the bank about my loan application, and what she found out from the attorney, if I can use the equity in the house. But if I can't, then they've cost me the ability to use the equity in the house. And then if I talk to the real estate lawyer and it ends up that they've, by the threats of eviction, have affected my ability to sell the house, then yeah, those are all ways in which I'm affected financially by what they've done. And this is me just expressing thoughts. This is not written in stone. These are not facts. Um, I have not verified this information. It's just me, rolling thoughts around and seeing how all this has affected me and what my next options are. So, yeah, I'm getting all stuffed up. Allergies. But yeah, so I'm looking to see what my next move is. Definitely thinking it is going to be uh, leaving this area. If I am able to sell it, I'm going to be selling it to a local scrap collector so that he fills the property with lots of scrap. Yes, I will actively search out any scrap collector that I can find who has an interest in the property as somewhere to store their stuff. That may be petty, but I think it would be a wonderful lesson for the village board members that you should leave people alone, and they don't have the zoning in place to prevent somebody from doing that. I even thought one of the options that I came up with was turning it into a storage facility for people who have boats and RVs and all that stuff. And the banker's like, do you know if you can do that? And I'm like, no, I don't know if I can do that. I'd have to check on it. That's just an option. So, yeah, I'm just going through options. I don't know what I'm gonna do. The lady at the bank, we were talking about wood burning stoves, and she said, and I was like, because I moved up here the end of last January, and it was hard. It was cold up here. Like there was that one morning, it was 29 degrees, and I couldn't believe I didn't die of hypothermia, and we were talking about wood burning stoves, and she's got one in her basement, and she said that they only turn it on when it's going to be in the negative, like around negative 50 for a couple days. And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, so that means you never turned it on? She's like, no, it gets turned on every year. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, it gets into negative 50? And she's like, well, with the wind chill, yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to make it in this shed if we're talking temperatures of negative 50. I think it got into the negative 20s with the wind chill, and the side with, well, there's doors on both sides, but the one that faces west um, faces an open farm field. So there is nothing buffering the shed from the wind. And I found that out last year because it's a shed. It's a shed door. It's not a house door. So it is not got the weather stripping needed. And so, I mean, you could literally, things inside were literally blowing from the wind when we had really windy days. And, I realized then that I wasn't going to make it in the shed. But, and that's when I actively started considering what my options were. So, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Everything is still up in the air. I love the house. It would have been a wonderful place for me to live. It's a ranch. I could have turned the main living area into one big great area, because not so much my heart condition. I made a video about that. But my fibromyalgia, uh, I may one day need to use a walker or a wheelchair to get around, and so being able to open up that whole area would make that easier for me. We're done.